Welcome back to Survival on Purpose. My name's Brian. Thanks for joining me. This is going to be a Gauntlet review of the Entrek Forester Bushcraft knife. Slice and dice it however you'd like, but if you're not familiar with what the Gauntlet is, just be sure and check out thegauntlet.tv. There's been some comments about every Gauntlet review seems to be 20 minutes, so I'm not going to try to go over stuff that somebody else has gone over. I urge you to check out Chris and then Larry and then Joe's review, and you can check those out. The last review was Joe with Feral Woodcraft. I'm not sure who this is going to next. I will let you know. I'll tell you real quick about the specs and then we'll get rocking, because again, this is not going to be a 20-minute video. I promise. Okay, just in case you missed it on the other videos, here are the specs on the Entrek Forester. The overall length of this knife is 7 7/8 inches. It features a blade length of 3 5/8 inches, a blade thickness of 1/8 inch, and a micarta handle. The knife also comes with a Kydex sheath. Okay, so that's some of the specs and dimensions and a couple of close-ups on this knife. I want to point out that, just let me show you, I think the thing looks pretty good. When I got it from Joe Mobley with Feral Woodcraft, he had not cleaned the blade, I guess, from doing some carving on some wet wood, and it had all kinds of grunge on it. So it was pretty dirty looking actually, but as you can see, just a couple of minutes with some dishwashing detergent and a 3M pad, yeah, that's what you call it, a scouring pad, it cleans up really, really nice. Okay, I did want to take 1 second just to talk about the sheath. I don't know anybody, okay, I probably know some people. I don't have a belt that'll fit. Larry didn't have a belt that'll fit. Joe doesn't have a belt that'll fit. And it is braided on here, so you can't even unscrew it and change it out. So I think that is definitely an opportunity to improve. At a very minimum, it should be a serviceable sheath. And this one, it's not gonna fit on most, outdoor type belts. Sheath is a gigantic fail in my opinion. Okay, so a little bit about Entrek. First of all, primarily, as other people have mentioned, they make tactical kind of knives. This is really their first big foray into a bushcraft kind of design. Okay, so I had the pleasure of hanging out with Chris Tanner at Blade Show for a couple hours this year, and we actually met Ray Ennis, who is the maker of these knives. Ray's been making knives since 1973. So he told us that he chose 440 because if heat treated properly and stabilized properly, it's excellent steel. A lot of people think it's cheap steel. He said he spends like 4 times the normal amount on the heat treatment, and it's called sub-zero stabilization. And it's something about they cryogenically put this thing to like super cold, and it does something to the molecules in the steel to make them really hard. This is the warranty. I'm going to read you the warranty because it's pretty impressive. If this Entrek Knife USA fails for any reason, it will be repaired or replaced at the option of Entrek USA at no cost to the original owner. To date, we've replaced 4 knives in 12 years, which were all damaged for being used for other than their design purpose. Calibration needed. Okay, I just want to show you that had a slight calibration error in the first balance test procedure, and banged the handle pretty good, and it's solid as a rock. This is a super solid knife. Okay, as you can see, it's balanced. I do like the fact this handle shape just kind of lends itself to balance testing, because there's nothing to impede the process, so to speak. So but what I thought we'd do, since this thing is cryogenically stabilized, I'm going to take this baggie full of water. I'm going to fill it. Well, it's going to be full of water. We're going to put this knife in there, and we're going to put it in the freezer and let her get really cold, and then we'll do some nice stuff with it. And we'll see if the cryogenic stabilization has any effect on performance in a cryogenic condition. Something like that. So let me fill this baggie up with water, and we'll get to it. Discovered a slight flaw in my testing procedure. I was trying to be really careful with the blade of this knife. Is so stinking sharp that it poked a hole in the baggie. So let me come up with a plan B. Okay, so I had to put some duct tape on the tip of the knife. We're gonna stick it in the freezer and see you probably in just a second. Okay, so here is the Entrek Forester, fresh out of the freezer. As you can see, it's solid. Okay, so let's see if we can get him out of there. As you can see, we got definitely frozen, okay? I'll show you the handle here. Oh, that's sharp, sharp. That's cold, cold, cold. That is cold steel right there, and the handle's still pretty chipped up. So we'll go ahead and okay. I'm not sure how well this micarta takes to being frozen, but you know, I live in Georgia, and so I don't really have a lot of super cold weather, but I know a lot of people do. So wow, I know a lot of people do. So I thought, you know what? Let's do something a little outside the norm for Georgia here, and let's see what happens when this thing gets really cold. So let's get a closer look at this here. So you can see that it is absolutely still got ice on the handle. It's good and cold. Okay, so I got you backed up where you can see the whole thing. Again, this thing has still got ice on the handle, so it's slippery, but I think it'll come right off pretty soon. So you can see the handles. Can you see this? It is really wet, so this is a good test, and it's not just wet, but there we go. It's also a good test of the handles, the handle grip when it's wet. I can tell you, it's not slick at all. So it's, I mean, you can see it's just dripping wet here. It's not slick. So I've got a couple of different things I thought we'd do. First of all, got a piece of 2x4 here, and just going to do a little cross grain batoning with this thing, because that's probably a little harder than splitting. And we'll just bang on a little bit and see see how she does. So far so good on that. And you can see pretty decent. So now I've got a piece of the old standard YouTube firewood, and it's about the maximum size you want to baton with this thing. It may even be a little pushing it, but now let's be fair, this is definitely probably not the intended use of this knife. It's a bushcraft style knife. It's more for carving and that kind of thing, but this is the Gauntlet, and we are trying to push the limits here. So you can see that did pretty well. Now that we've got it down to a reasonable size. It's no longer cold, by the way. It's warmed up right off the bat from beating through that wood from the friction. So I'm going to show you the blade. It's not bent. No chips in the blade. I'm pretty pleased. Okay, well that was probably above and beyond borderline abuse test on the Entrek Forester. I just thought it'd be cool to do since I live in Georgia. Obviously it's not cold out here, so I'm not pretending that I've duplicated Arctic conditions here, but we did have this thing in the freezer for 3 days. Okay, that was 3 days in the freezer because I got busy. And you can see that it was completely encased in ice. I beat the heck out of it. I beat the heck out of the handle. I beat the heck out of the blade. The handle's not loose, you know, from the expansion and contraction. Ice, you know, water got in the sleeve here, obviously expanded. I mean, there was just any possible damage from ice, expansion or freezing or whatever had an opportunity to occur, and this thing is none the worse for the wear. It's got a little bit of a grunge here on it, probably from splitting through that oak. It looked a whole lot worse than that when I got it. It cleaned up really well with just a like a 3M pad. So I gotta say, the knife itself, I really like it. If the grip just feels really good in your hand. It's just really comfortable. It really, the smooth streamlined shape really lends itself to balance testing, and just a really nice knife, I think. The knife, okay, the sheath, it's lame. You know, Chris said it's lame, Larry said it's lame, Joe said it's lame, I say it's lame. It's a $150 knife, and it's, well, I think it is completely comparable possibly even superior to a lot of other $150 knives. But guys, you need to do a little better job on the sheath for 150 bucks. I mean, it doesn't have to be fancy, and a lot of people, I know people are going to put custom sheaths and all that, but still, for 150 bucks, at a minimum, you should have a sheath that will fit on the average belt that the average guy wears. And most of us that spending time outdoors wear an 1.5-inch belt. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. So anyway, this was the Survival on Purpose Gauntlet review of the Entrek Forester. As always, thanks for watching Survival on Purpose, for subscribing, liking, and sharing. Thanks for watching the ads, and thanks for clicking those Amazon links. Once again, my name's Brian. You're watching Survival on Purpose. Remember, survival is not an accident, so be prepared. See you next time.